So I think people are finally coming to the realization as everything is starting to crumble in the big 2-6 at this point that a lot, if not the vast majority of things that they recognized or thought that they recognized with reality or lessons that had been taught to them about reality, passed down to them about reality without too much critical pushback or from the person being fed that information's part or that much critical insight from the people just basically passing on tradition and a mode of living and a mode of production and foisting it onto the rest of us at this point. What I'm trying to say is everything that we have been taught about the general deal of society and Western society was built on a lie, built on mass bloodshed and a pile of bodies, and is now, but it always was, but is just nakedly using us as the fuel, even more so than, well, I don't want to say even more so than in the past. Just read about like mid 18, early to mid 1800s, Great Britain during the when it was really deep in the throes of the Industrial Revolution, and that was an apocalypse in of itself right there. But yeah, they're getting even more naked with their displays of authoritarianism at this point, and what they're leaving us, or more like not leaving us with at this point, is even the illusion of an alternative against what that was. In the United States, where this is coming from, the heart of the evil empire, the seat of advanced monopoly capitalism, aka global finance capitalism around the world, the main perpetrator and supporter, aside from, the Pisraelis themselves, of the genocide going on throughout West and Central Asia. The United States is the most evil place on the planet. I don't really think that there needs to be that much that's argued about that in light of the material reality of this place being willing to start World War III on behalf of a genocidal apartheid colonial state that is murdering the indigenous people of the land, and basically just doing, which is even more horrifying for people in the US to contemplate, but we really got to reckon with our history to deal with reality. But Israel is a template, or the US rather, was a template for Israel. Manifest Destiny was baked into the ideology of political Zionism when it was being developed in the latter half of the 19th century by Theodore Herzl, Chaim Weizmann, and then, of course, the founder of the illegal state of Israel through the Nakba, David Ben Gurion. So that all of these narratives are coming to light that have obviously always been there. This is history, but the changing perceptions of national and international actors and institutions It's causing people to question everything, feel like they have truly been lied to about everything because all sources of authority have actually either been, well, yeah, they've just been killing them. It's just been a matter of the rate they've been doing that at based on their level of privilege. But people need to understand that you're not going to be saved by this society that is quite literally designed to exploit you. It is designed to extract surplus value from you through your own time and creativity being embodied in commodities that you produce, but you don't get the full value of the commodity. You get the partial value of the commodity, whereas someone else that hoarded all of the means, all of the equipment, all of the building overhead, all of the land itself that you needed just to be able to produce a commodity, because this is something that people used to be able to do as peasants back in the day. But the rising tide of industrialization and what is called the proletarianization of the peasantry, they were essentially just getting booted off the land by either noblemen that were transitioning into becoming burgeoning capitalists were just throwing them off, or newly forming capitalist farmers that were peasants that owned a little bit more land, or maybe like county bailiffs became capitalist farmers at that point, and people lost. That is how capitalism formed, is people lost. They had an ability to produce everything that they needed for themselves that was taken away from them. And you even see in the US today, people can't just go off the grid. You're not allowed to do that. I don't know, it's considered like trespassing of some kind of public land, not like a national park, but just public property, aka property of the US government. That doesn't mean that you're considered a part of the public at that point. People don't understand that we are in a constant adversarial relationship with the corporations that we're forced to work for, even, like shitty mom and pop type places where people's minds, the owners' minds, have been colonized to the point where they have adopted what's called a petty bourgeois mentality, a false consciousness that they're considered part of the club and that they actually earn their way to some kind of new status in the social hierarchy, even though we're ostensibly a democracy. We're not. If that wasn't obvious to the whole world already at this point, except for people living in the U.S., that's what this message is mostly for. You need to abandon like any sort of hope, like a honestly naive hope at this point that this place is going to do anything to be looking out for your interests, even if you are a fascist or a neoliberal supporter, neoconservative supporter, libertarian, and you think that like loosely allying yourself with or closely and fervently allying yourself with the fascist machinery and cops and baby killers. We can't be pretending like people just are following orders and thinking that they're defending freedom or whatever crap people come up with, and that we just need to feel sorry for them. It's the time of accountability. This is an era where the way that geopolitical relations, because of the just unhinged psychopathy of mostly the United States, but with tacit backing from NATO and Western countries, and its bourgeois comprador supporting states in the global South. This era is changing of what global capitalism is going to look like and what its overall grip on things is going to look like, if maybe it won't even have that grip. We're at a point, though, where people have been deceived, again, through conditioning, that the economic system that we are living under, capitalism, was basically us returning to our historical roots of the way things have always been, when in reality, again, in this era where everything is getting flipped, turned upside down in terms of what everyone's perceived notions of reality were, some more than others, but in this era of great, psychological and frankly, like, philosophical change, productive change, political change, a lot of P words there, but in this era of great change in every facet of life, economic, political, cultural, psychological, we are having a new array of major players with different proportions of power. Like, it seems that the U.S., as its you can see that the machinery of empire is crumbling. It looks like it might be becoming more of just a regional hegemon in the Western Hemisphere, horrifyingly. It's been heavily influencing elections in South America, in Peru. There was just an election where the U.S. basically forced candidate won. Same with Colombia. Obviously with Venezuela, the kidnapped president Nicolas Maduro, who is in prison in Brooklyn, New York right now still. Do not ever forget that that's happened. You have the general strike situation in Bolivia, and Rodrigo Paz's government, my understanding, as of today's date, July 25, 2026, is unfortunately still in power. The Honduran government was hijacked by the U.S. in basically a CIA coup election. El Salvador just slavishly devotes itself to the U.S. Guatemala has close ties with the genocidal apartheid state of Israel. So it's an interconnected network that is primarily emanating from the U.S., but is a web of multinational corporations, various nation states, and not even the entire nation state, maybe only some political factions within international bureaucracies. NGOs are major players within all of this as well, and of course international finance capital embodied in banks, and particularly the World Bank and IMF, that are basically performing austerity cuts through debt peonage, through the just egregious loans that they give to help development, aka build authoritarian control and extract resources from the global South. But this is all just stuff that needs to be said to really open up people's eyes that this is this is what the United States is. It is an imperial machine that is designed to extract labor, surplus labor from people that are either building finished goods or pulling natural resources and turning them into raw materials ready to serve as productive inputs right away. It is a world that does not really have anything to do with human fulfillment or even basic fulfillment of human needs in mind. It is a system that is designed to use you completely and utterly and discard you, so that you're able to, with your blood, sweat, and tears, make sure somebody can spend $10 million on a wedding in Mykonos or some bullshit. And you were told your whole life that this is just the way things were. This is the way that the world is supposed to be. And it's only because those people that told you that had it just browbeaten, conditioned into them so thoroughly in what was described as capitalist realism by, I want to say Max Fisher, but it might be Mark Fisher. So we'll just say Fisher. Where you essentially are not able to imagine other ways of performing social relations with other human beings that would facilitate the exchange of goods and services. It was done, capitalism's been around for like 500 years. Give or maybe even take some time off of that. This is not the way things have always been. And let me just, to try to wrap this up, try to get to the heart. And I'll speak particularly from the perspective of a U.S. citizen, because the U.S. is a host of problems and just messed up attributes that can even put it in a class of its own from its NATO and other Western and Global South collaborating brethren. But people are just saying, what can you do but vote for Democrats? Change takes time. Change can actually... The way that change works is that it's not linear at all. It happens in fits and starts. And it is contingent on absolutely making the most out of the brief moments of opportunity where, if anyone has actually studied Marxist history, just read socialist history in general, they would understand that the ruling class that came to power primarily marked with you actually had the U.S. Revolution, which was a full bourgeois revolution to break away from the monarchy so that they could kill more Native Americans. But and yes, that was the real reason. Don't tell me it was just about tea, because it wasn't. That tax wasn't even that bad. It was land speculators like George Washington and slave owners, also like George Washington, that were threatened by the British not letting people go west to the Appalachian Mountains. And slavery was outlawed in Great Britain. And we couldn't have the Virginia planters losing their unearned livelihoods, could we? And continuing to be sex predators, could we? In the case of Thomas Jefferson, yeah, that's definitely freaking true. if you want to look into that. I don't know why I said freaking there, but I'm starting to lose the thread again. But speaking particularly from the US, like people just saying, but if you don't vote for Democrats, then the Republicans are gonna win and it'll be even worse. Well, the Democrats were perpetrating a genocide. You know that current genocide in West Asia going on right now? It started under a Democratic presidency, and in that campaign, one of the biggest reasons that polling data showed for not, I would not say the main factor, it was mostly because people unfortunately can just be by and large, and particularly in the US, because it is the seat of global empire, but people were by and large thinking about the economy, and if the economy's bad, people just impulsively vote for, well, the blue M&M was bad, so the red M&M might fix me. And every single person that made that decision is a moron. You're a dumb person, and you deserve to continue to get clowned, and hopefully you can use that as fire to be able to make your life worth something, because it's really just you really effed up there. But also, it's not like Kamala Harris was even trying during her campaign, saying she was going to have more ICE enforcement than Trump. She was running to the right of Donald Trump on immigration enforcement and leveraging ICE. The masked goons in unmarked cars that are just executing people now. Yeah, she would have been a great alternative. This is really what it comes down to, is you need to critically think and understand that, oh, this is a politician that belongs to a corporate party whose main goal is to take advantage of me in every way that they can think of, be it as a wage slave or a hapless consumer, or God forbid other horrifying ways, legal and illegal. Maybe I shouldn't vote for that. Maybe I should, and I'll go one better. Maybe I should vote for and organize with a party that is not just totally run by a corporate machine that will force you to submit to its whims, where whatever grassroots energy that you had for your campaign just goes out the window because all you have are lobbyists representing corporations, banks, and NGOs in your ear. So, and depending on your station, maybe international governments and bodies as well. But this thing is irredeemable. You're not ever going to get, and it was just so embarrassingly shown, as it's embarrassingly being shown with Zohran Mamdani, who anyone with people are still riding the delusional high of this guy when he was sicking the NYPD on pro-Palestinian protesters trying to break up the illegal Palestinian stolen land real estate fucking gala that was happening in New York City. No, Mamdani put the NYPD on them. New homeless encampments up in the city because material conditions are just getting worse and worse. Nah, we'll keep sicking the NYPD on people. Supposedly an anti-Zionist, well, we'll keep a billionaire heiress as our NYPD police chief. Makes sense why the pro-Palestinian protesters are getting beat up still. And he basically just had a presser saying he's not going to arrest Netanyahu. And even more embarrassingly, you had the Graham Plattner situation where it's like, you people just you're being your critical faculties are being robbed. You see a guy with a Totenkopf skull, who was a Marine on multiple tours of duty, Abu Ghraib prison guard, would joke about how many wars he'd love to fight in, and uh, I guess and graping, if we can't fully say that word. I don't know what I can and can't say anymore. Graping people to assert dominance. Had a Blackwater Merc sticker on his fridge, and people were like shocked that an NSA allegation came out. One of several, I'm pretty sure, as well. And it's like, this guy was just the most blatant psyop. And this absolutely needs to be said to people in the U.S. Stop the fetishization of people that sign up to kill innocent people overseas so that they can get health care and go to college, or narrowly advance their own self-interest off of the blood of innocent men, women, and children. It's disgusting. There's nothing honorable about it. If you still believe that they're defending freedom, it's like, hello, the Epstein files exist. Almost 30 minutes in, and I haven't even brought that up. That basically revealed that all of the major players of the said interconnected advanced monopoly capitalist web that runs the globe is primarily made up of people that are contained in those files and all of the critical positions within those various multinational corporations, governments, NGOs, various institutions. It's the fact that people actually are still just believing them, believing that they're actually here for you, that they're doing things not to just blatantly perform market manipulation, again, off of the blood of innocent people, trying to build basically clones of Little St. James off of stolen funds in the blood of innocent people, stolen land in the blood of innocent people. This is all just, and the money is basically the contract being sealed, but it's enforced through the brutality of the U.S. military, which is currently getting justifiably, after betrayal after betrayal after betrayal of peace deals, just rightfully getting spanked all over bases in West Asia by Iran right now, to the point where U.S. media is completely blacking out U.S. Troop deaths. Ever since the U.S. began this horrible carnage with an illegal attack on 160 plus school girls in Minab in Iran, I think it's like 5,000 U.S. soldiers that have been killed, and baby killers that have been killed, and I think it's been like, sorry if my numbers are off, but I think it's like 4 times that, maybe 6 times that, 4 to 6 times that for Iranians. And horrifyingly, it might be more. It's definitely horrifyingly more in Gaza since October 2023, and worse definitely in Yemen for the past decade and a half at this point. And it's bad in Lebanon right now. It's bad in Syria. It's bad in Congo. It's bad in Sudan. All of these are connected. as well. I know I'm just like doing word association, it seems like, but when you look at DR Congo, Rwanda is a proxy state of the U.S. that is basically just smuggling U.S. weapons to armed groups in DR Congo. I believe it's called the M13. No, not MS-13. There is a large, I believe it's called a militia, DR Congo militia. The M23 movement, I'm sorry. And they're being supplied by Uganda and Rwanda. And then with Sudan, that's like a proxy war between the UAE and Russia to a certain extent, who is offering more support to the Sudanese government than the U.S. did. Maybe the U.S. is feeling that conflict of interest with UAE, which is by far the worst actor there. Well, maybe the U.S. is helping them because UAE is a vassal state of the U.S., but you have the RSF Rapid Support Forces, just unspeakable just evils going on there as well. Just horrible final shots of people's last moments. And if after all of this, like, once you get even, like, I'm just scraping at the edges, and it's almost too horrible for most people living in the U.S. to comprehend, but this place is, if not the most, British Empire, French Empire, hell, maybe even throw the Spanish and Dutch in there. This might be the most evil empire that's exists in human history. Oh, hey, you've got your Mongols, you got the Roman Empire, the cruelties of Egypt, and violence is embedded in the human condition to a certain extent, but the U.S. was founded as a white settler colony. It instituted a industrialized form of chattel slavery, unprecedented in the depravity and levels of cruelty it was exacting on human beings. It treated worse than their livestock, because they were basically calculating them as annuities rather than as human beings. And now it's a globe bestriding empire with various actual colonies, debt colonies, basically giant military bases in the case of Israel. And people still want to believe, well, if I vote for a Democrat that supports all of these things, maybe they'll gain a conscience if they're DSA backed or something. No, you're just not willing to admit to yourself that you've been betrayed, or worse, you're just saying that so you absolve yourself of responsibility and say, I can't do anything else. What am I supposed to do? There are a million other things that you can do besides just vote for a Democrat that's going to perpetrate genocide and ICE enforcement, because they support both of those things. Nothing will change with you doing that. You really need to stop being ignorant, or stop lying to yourself at that point that you don't actually want to do anything. If you want to do something, the easiest way just to get started this isn't the be all end all, but you can at least talk to somebody in either your local DSA if they do have a chapter, just so you can hopefully run into some like-minded people and do some decent work on activity, what people might call mutual aid, that isn't tied to winning bullshit elections that aren't going to change anything. We need to figure out what a community even is and start trying to build those in the US. We have had every interaction intermediated by commodities owned by corporations and then eventually owned by us, even though we made them in the first place, and we still have to buy them as a class, that class being the proletariat, as products with the fractional value paid out as wages already. Demand more from the people in your life that already have everything. And you want to make apologies for well-off politicians that are lying to you. When are you going to accept that you are being that they think you're a fool? That they think, even worse than that, they think that you're just a cat, like, rolled over on its belly, just, like, immediately surrendering with the mildest pushback. Don't get me wrong, not all the pushback has been mild. People are dying out here. But if your pushback is, oh, but if a Democrat loses, a Republican wins, how have you not figured out that nothing has changed? If you're of voting age, you have seen enough of both Democrats and Republicans to understand that the vibes are a little different, but the material conditions of just continuing and shitification are not. Get off of the train that is going to slam into a brick wall, because that time is coming. We're running out of room, and you need, as hard as it's going to be, it's a journey that we're all going to be struggling to be on if we could pull through all of this, but you need to let go of everything that you were taught America is, what you think even democracy is, what you were taught to believe was the American dream and the capitalist engine that was supposed to run forever to keep that alive. Well, now you realize what the real gears in the machinery are, which is just essentially profit maximization off of human exploitation, and the oil in the gears is our blood, and you can see it in these drained eyes. They're sapping us, and the labor movement was, the international labor movement was essentially fully massacred with the fall of the Soviet Union. 35 years ago at this point. But we're going to just have to figure out a way in this new era where they're trying to just get rid of any job with even income that can be used to reproduce our labor, to drag ourselves to work for another day. We're going to have to figure out what our new workers' movement looks like in whatever this new iteration of capitalism is. But we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We have geniuses in the past that we can look to that succeeded in overthrowing bourgeois tyranny. People that adhered to Marxism, people that adhered to Marxism-Leninism. And people don't like those words. That is another form of conditioning that really runs deep in the U.S. psyche, to the point where supposed U.S. leftists think communism is going too far when that should be the point, and lay out unconvincing arguments as to how them hoping something spontaneous will spark off a revolution is just not how the bourgeoisie was overthrown historically in the past. It took a bunch of organization and discipline and education and organizing. It's not just filling out a Scantron. That's completely inadequate. And for the innocent people dying abroad in Palestine and Iran and Yemen and Lebanon and Syria, all throughout Latin America. Let me not forget about the people being genocided in Myanmar, the war between Pakistan and Afghanistan, the conflict in Kashmir between Pakistan and India. There's just a lot going on right now, and really there have been a few uncorking events. You have COVID, you have the beginning of the Gaza genocide, you had the Great Recession before that, you had repo madness, where basically the U.S. repo banking fund of trillions of dollars was depleted in a single night in like December 2019 at some point. So the U.S. economy, which is also just built on a whole bunch of speculative assets funded by highly unregulated private credit, what people would call subprime lenders, the same kind that caused the housing crisis of 2008 that launched the Great Recession. Well, the bankruptcy numbers are starting to go up for them too. I don't know if people are fully prepared for what's going to happen, but you really need to abandon those notions of what you thought the U.S. was. Now I'm not just saying it because it's factually untrue. I'm saying it for your sake of, when everything goes to hell, do you really want to be going down with a ship that never gave a shit about you in the first place? You need to understand that this place is very sadly irredeemable.